Hey guys, Takuyasugi here to do a last video, last hurrah of Lost Saga NA. You can see from the website here, it is pretty much closing down on September 13th at 12 p.m. EST, which is like, what day is that on? It's on Friday, so I'll be at work. So Lost Saga is going to be dying while I'm at work, but either way, it's pretty much been dead to me already. I mean, I really wanted to play it and enjoy it a little bit more, but time is short for me, and I tend to focus on other games when I do have free time. So I loved it for what it was, but it is the new end of the era that's been a meme since like 2012 or whenever OGP closed down. And we did transition to Mage eventually, and then from Mage, I believe we went to Z8 Games. We did lose everything when we went from OGP to Mage, so I had like a really high level treasure hunter back then, and that was the first character I really had success with in Lost Saga, and I chose to level that up over all other characters. But that went away, and then Mage, I started off by leveling. What did I main in Mage? I don't even remember like what I mained. I would say I have the most fond memories of Gladiator, but I didn't really level it. And I did level the heck out of Hakumen in Mage. That was my first and only level 100 character. So I really enjoyed Hakumen in Mage. But yeah, it's going to close down. So one last hurrah here. Let's tell you what. Let's go ahead and launch the little launcher right here. I've got a good feeling about this, by the way. Where is my launcher? What the heck? Is it like hidden behind here? I don't know. Oh, there it is. It's just, you guys can see my little product code for white Grim Reaper package, whatever. It's not going to matter anymore. So type in everything I need. Oh, DB query. So the gentleman on Facebook told me actually how to fix this. I can just hold enter to bypass it, which I'm going to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. It worked, right? All right, now we're all set. We're ready to play. All right, it's gonna update, and I have a good feeling about this. And it's like minimized everything I needed right there, right, to my messy desktop. Oh yeah. All right, it's launching, right? Oh no, we got the X trap error. So yeah, pretty much. I don't know if I have any way around this. One gentleman on Facebook did mention that if you've updated to the latest Windows 10, which I have, you can't even get through Xtrap. So I don't know how to roll back a Windows 10 update. I don't think I can. So that's where I'm at. I can't even log in to enjoy the last few days of the game and do like a very, very last match. So I'm going to do something fun on the side. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to... Looks like it actually broke my display capture. You guys can't even see what I'm looking at anymore, I guess. So let me fix that. Yeah, what the heck? It's like messed up my whole display. I'll just add a new display capture and see if that works. Display 1. No, that's my OBS. Well, it's broken my display capture. Go figure. We'll be back. So yeah, the whole X-Trap thing pretty much broke my recording. So not gonna be able to play a last match of Lost Saga, unfortunately. A gentleman on Facebook told me basically you can't bypass the X-Trap error simply because Windows 10 updated for me, and I'm on the latest version of Windows 10, and I don't know how to roll back. So I don't know how to roll back to a previous version of Windows. I'm sure maybe I could scrunch up an older computer in my house and maybe try that to play another game of Lost Saga, one last game. But if I'm experiencing this error, and a lot of other people are, with that bypass error, people don't know how to get around that. They don't know how to get around the Windows 10 error with the X-Trap. It's pretty much dead in the water already. I wouldn't even imagine there's many people on. I think there was going to be like a get-together on Thursday, but there's no way I could have done that. Or Friday, whenever the game is ending. But a lot of us will either be at work or in school. Just a really unfortunate set of circumstances. The game is not dying gracefully. It's dying with an abundance of technical errors where you can't even log in and say goodbye to your friends properly. So, a little bit of shame on Z8 Games for doing it that way, not getting those things fixed before the game shut down. But it is what it is. It's on its way out, so it is what it is. I really wanted to do like a final inventory and do like a final thoughts on every character, and I'm still probably going to do that, but I'm just going to do it in a less fun way where I can't even like do my inventory. I'll just do like a little thoughts on the characters video. But we'll do a little something fun here. We're going to go through the Korean website right here and just take a look at like all the characters and think about some memories of Lost Saga. So it might be kind of a boring video for you guys. But if you're interested in like my experience with Lost Saga and my thoughts on the characters, and stick around, it might be insightful for whatever value you get out of it. I haven't actually been onto this website recently. So I'm going to actually discover new heroes I didn't even know about, I'm assuming. So that'll be a fun part of the video. Like we're going to see what all I've missed out on, because I haven't even like seen new characters for a long time. That's how behind I am on the game. I used to check that like religiously every week. I was really always excited about the new Korean characters, the Korean release characters, and always had a good time. So let me see. Let's guide class list. Class list is probably the one. I'm looking at the URL preview at the bottom left there. All right, so I'm gonna kind of like go through this list and like discuss like my memories of these characters, and maybe like do shout outs of like people I can remember playing the characters. So my memory's not that good, just as a heads up. You're probably great at something like pirate. I can think of like there was some really good pirate player, but I just can't remember. I can't remember. I've got so much information in my head at my advancing years where I just don't remember things like I should. So Iron Knight, I remember there was one main. This is a character I really wanted to use starting out when I started back on OGP. I always liked the concept of knights. Really, I was really motivated to play Kage Ninja more so than anything, but you know, that was behind a paywall and I didn't really want to pay back then. I was a little bit cheap with my money as opposed to today and the past few years where I just spend. But Iron Knight is one of the characters I started off with, and I realized like pretty quickly it's not very good. It wasn't good at all back in the OGP days. They did buff it eventually where you could get the easy air stabs and all that, but even then you would like swap to a different character to do the combos after you spam that, because it didn't really have any great like solo combos, right? It was just really simple and a bare bones character. Again, I can't really have any big memories of people who main this character, but would love to think about that, but whatever. Let's go back to the page here. So pirate, this was always one of those little niche classes that I found fascinating. I think when I joined OGP, it was just like one of those characters that was releasing. I think Dark Shaman was slightly after even that, or I don't know. It was a weird timeline back when I joined Lost Saga. It was very bare bones. There wasn't a ton of classes like there is today. Sorry if my dog's like making a lot of noise over there. She's licking herself, taking a bath. But there was like one or two really good pirate players. I just can't remember their names. Maybe you guys can share in the comments, like give shout outs to good pirate players or whoever other players you thought were really good. Refresh my memory, right? So pirate was a cool character. Captain Hook, I think is what it was called on North American or Korean Lost Saga. I thought it was a cool character, especially after it got buffed. It got a lot faster. It's always interesting for combos with the little bomb drops. Very fun character. Cowboy. I should have just tabbed this one open, but whatever. Cowboy, you know, it was okay. Before the nerf, it didn't used to have ground shots, so it was like one of these characters in this little gray zone. There was one player in OGP who leveled this character almost exclusively, and I think he always fought the good fight because it wasn't a very effective character overall, but he always fought the good fight. I think he was in that hero guild or something. Just don't remember his name. My memory, all right? But I thought it was always a cool character. And then they gave it a few buffs, like the reform, where it could shoot the ground. And it was okay, you know, it gave you a little extra damage, but there was better options out there in terms of like ground shots and stuff. where you could do like a Hakumen kick and edge someone versus like one little bullet, which didn't do all that much damage in comparison, right? But, you know, once they did finally evolve it, it had that like rapid spray of bullets, right? And then it became really annoying to fight, not just standing up, but also like on the ground, where you could get 2 strings of fully unloaded clips with the cowboy. It was really, really good at that point. And it's probably still good today, I would say, because you can edge with it and pressure someone off. Really cool character after it evolved. It should have been that way all along. I think it was one of the more reasonable evolutions too, because it did add a lot of value to that character as a swap character, and even possibly maining the character, because you can pressure someone really, really well with this thing. Still had to reload, but that was the trade-off, right? Again, I can't remember, you know, significant mains of this character except the one guy who leveled him in OGP, and I just can't recall his name. So it's whatever. Fire Mage. This might be a long video, guys. Maybe I'll make this, you know, broken up into parts. Fire Mage. What? It's not even going to give me the artwork? Huh. Interesting. Well, you guys know what a Fire Mage looks like, right? There was one player who leveled this pretty stringently in WeMade and OGP, I think. Back in OGP, like the meteor would do pretty good damage. I think they buffed it at some point to hit grounded, if I recall. I know the reform allowed you to charge it up, and did some good stuff with that. And I think they nerfed it eventually, but overall it was a cool character. The armor skill was pretty cool back in the old days, where it would do a lot of damage, and you could always get a lot of good value off the meteors. Like in 2010 WCG, this was like the go-to swap weapon skill character, because you could get so much value out of the weapon skill meteor with the damage and the combo capabilities. So it was a really good option. And it was, fun fact, before I got on board with the whole swapping mechanic, before I didn't really like to swap at all, I like to use just primarily Treasure Hunter. This was my first swap character. I joined the bandwagon because everyone swapped to Fire Mage to do like little combos, and that was my first swap character. This is the first character I put in like a secondary slot in my character select. So Fire Mage, good memories of that. Medic. They do have like a thing for this, at least. Medic was always like this OGP useful character where you could heal your friends. I think there was one girl player, I can't remember, she was like a European-based player or something, that played this and leveled it really high. Before it got like a little reform, I think it wasn't that useful. And then the reform added like more stabs. I think it did have like an air stab. A lot of people could do like a double stab. There's like 2 players who played Medic, and they were both girls. And there might have been more, but you know, this was a combo go-to character where, you know, you get the double stabs and then you go into like a combo. A lot of people used it for that, from what I remember. The armor skill like lifted people. It was pretty cool. The helmet drained, of course, which was always like a go-to skill back in the old days, and maybe potentially even nowadays, although I'm sure there's like a million skills that drain a lot easier than having people point blank in an AoE. But yeah, the drain hat was always super annoying to deal with, but forced you to play, you know, skill versus skill. I think it would have been balanced if your skills would have drained on top of the opponent's skills, but whatever. Or at least 50% of your skill charge versus 100% of theirs. I don't know. I think that could have balanced it out. You know, if I was a coder or developer, I'd bring back like the old Lost Saga. Build it with, you know, more mature artwork. Keep things a lot more balanced than what the KLS devs did. So they unbalanced things like tremendously with the skills. Skill usage pretty much ruined the game. But yeah, Medic, I could think of like 3 players, but I just can't think of their names. I don't remember playing with an evolution or anything either. I didn't think the heal property was as useful as it could have been. Like, it didn't heal fast enough. So it kind of undervalued the character, I believe. It was never really a healing character like it should have been. It should have healed a lot more with that weapon skill. That would have made it really useful, and maybe potentially even extend matches. Who knows? That would have made it interesting, though. Who's next? Man, I got a long list to go through. This is going to be in parts, maybe, or maybe this will be an hour-long video. Berserker. I think this is called Berserker. Yeah, Berserker. His artwork's not going to display for me here either. Berserker was one of these great characters, and I know who made this one. My now fiance Kimmy. But she leveled really, really fast on this character, pumped it up, made it really awesome. So she was pretty memorable, just because I now am engaged to her. But yeah, this was a cool character. It had that whole berserk feeling, like the anime, which wasn't insanely popular back then, but now it's more popular nowadays. Big sword, you know, you had the whole D. Oh yeah, there was that Brawly guy too who mained it, and he always raged. So a lot of memorable players for this one. The Reform did a few favors, you know, you had the air smash and everything, but at that point it was okay at that point, I would say. But back in the old days, this was one of the go-to characters, as one of the stronger characters. I guess I could technically just like list Berserker, Lost Saga, right? We can go with that when it doesn't have an image, right? Just hopefully, yeah, there you go. Hey, we have a Datapedia, nice. Okay. Hero database, we'll just go. I'm going to stick with the Korean website just because I want to be surprised a little bit, but you'll see, you'll see. Just give me the full hero listing. Perfect, perfect. Some of these are probably going to be outdated, but whatever, whatever. All right. So we'll go back here. Resuming our little journey down the character memory lane is Robin Hood. Robin Hood, I don't see any. I don't know why their pages are like not displaying artwork. Whatever, we'll go over here when we need to. So Robin Hood looked a little like that. Really cool character. It was pretty ineffective, like in early Lost Saga days. Not very good. It was kind of cool because you could play a little keep away, but nothing like the reformed version or the evolved version. My fondest, I don't remember any significant mains back in OGP who did Robin Hood, but one of my fondest memories was like I did a 1v1 versus Clemente. God rest his soul. I don't think he's passed away, but I haven't talked to him in a long, long time. But back in his more ragey days, Clemente, I one-on-one'd him with a Robin Hood, and I actually beat his main character with a Robin Hood because I don't know, I felt like, you know, trying to do something that would give me like the well, if I win, I win. If I lost, I played a crappy character. Like, whatever, right? A little bit trolly on my part, too. And I actually won, and like I held that over his head for a while. I think he was playing Tau Warrior back then. I don't really remember too well. But that's one of my fondest memories of that, and I can't really remember any significant mains. I know the evolution like totally blew up the character where it was like super, super strong and hard to deal with. But yeah, I don't really remember too much, too many significant mains. I'm sure there was quite a few after it got evolved. So Robin Hood, really cool character too. Who we got next? Long list. Crazy Sapper. There was one player who always mained this. Oh, great. It doesn't have artwork either. Sapper. There we go. Just put that. We'll have a million tabs open. Why not? So Sapper, really, it was good for a few combos. You could get some pretty significant damage with the combos, and the armor itself, I think, had like some reduction kind of perks to it, like fall damage reduction or something. Let's see, it might be listed on here, right? Skills. Sapper armor gives 33 dexterity as a hidden. So yeah, I think it dropped it reduced the fall damage for you. So that was useful, and then you also got the little benefit of, completely ignoring mines. So it kind of shut down the character if someone used the Sapper armor, which a lot of people did from my recollection. Where it just completely nullified mines. So at that point, it's like, whatever, right? There was one guy who always struggled with this. He fought the good fight. I just don't remember his name. You're going to recognize a recurring theme when it comes to names that I don't remember. Ice Mage, I remember I did have a friend in Lost Saga, Sakura Haruno, in the iKitties Guild, who did main this one. She got pretty high level, and I thought it was overall a really effective character back in the OGP days. Its effectiveness kind of dwindled as time went along and new heroes and skills came out. But it had some good stuff to it, and I don't think this ever got an evolution, did it? But the reform brought it back a little bit, where, you know, it was a lot easier to freeze people. It was a solid character overall, I would say. It just lacked a little bit in comparison to the Fire Mage, but it had some neat stuff to it. Like, it didn't have like a go-to freeze charge up like where you got with the new Fire Mage, where you could meteor people over and over, like a less effective meteor. But it would charge your weapon skill, which was kind of nice. I think some people used it for that too, like to charge up either that or Fire Mage. It did have some uses. You could catch some random people in freezes. So Sakura, and I'm sure there was a couple other Ice Mages. I know there was at least one other in OGP days, so that was a cool character. Infantryman. Man, there is one guy that I remember played this character. I don't remember his name, but he was always like upset that it didn't get buffed or whatever. And I think it did eventually get an evolution, but I never really got my hands on that. I think I played around with it like on the Korean server once. Where is it? Infantry. There he is. Yeah, there's the Infantryman. But it had some cool stuff to it. Like the helmet would make people march around. Where am I going here? There we go. And you know, you could get some really good damage out of it at one point with like the blue shot off a combo. So I think they nerfed that eventually, where he didn't have as much damage. But man, this thing did have some really high damage if you could land the shots. But it could never really track, so you could walk around him all day, and even sometimes if he would guess like where you're going, you could block after the first bullet, because you're not getting a blue shot typically if you're catching someone on the run, right? So it was ineffective for a lot of those reasons. I didn't really have a lot of playtime with the evolved the evolved version. I think it did get an evolution eventually, right? Who's next? Stormtrooper. I know there was some mains for this sucker here. Please display the artwork, make it easier on me. The armor skill, I remember it shocked people. It did a good job. A couple of mains I remember, not their names, of course, but I know there's some credit that I could give if I really researched it, maybe. I can't find these people's names anymore, I guess. Yeah, this was a solid character, and it could put out some good damage as well. The helmet did drop damage eventually. It didn't initially do that. I think it just teleported someone back to their spawn until they buffed it, which was always kind of weird to me. The jetpacks in general were always pretty useless. And the weapon skill was okay, but didn't really do it for me. Overall, it became a more interesting character after the reform. I don't think it ever got an evolution. If it did, I never saw it, right? All right, who's next? Dark Assassin or Shadow Assassin. This was a good character. I remember Big Timer used this, so he did pretty good with this character overall. Everyone started with this character by default. It's like the first thing you see when you enter the game. You play Shadow Assassin. The old version was okay, but never the best. The reform version got a lot better, but I think it always went a little under the radar, even though it was so good. The helmet was good. Give you a feint until you got half feint counter skills and moves that you could get out of that helmet with. It became kind of crappy after that. The armor skill was a nice little half feint counter. He stealthed you. Poison trinket was always super annoying to deal with, but did the job. It was overall a really, really great trinket. And his weapon skill was okay. It was simply okay. Give you a feint off a little quick attack. But overall, he was a solid character, so Shadow Assassin, pretty cool. Big Timer is about the only one I can really remember off the top of my head who was good with that. Justice Defender, this was always one of my favorite characters as well. I did level the heck out of this character. Of course, it's not going to be listed there. We'll just do it right here. But yeah, Justice Defender, It went through a couple. It went through a reform and evolution. I don't really remember too much about like what added what. Back in the old days, I know like this was a pretty effective character overall, except it made it hard to like kind of block in directions, right? Because when you press block on Justice Defender, you have to actually move in the direction you want to block, versus a lot of characters who stay stationary when you block. You have to turn. I think there was a few players who played this, but it was one of my favorites. So this was like one of my big secondaries back in OGP days, I think. I really enjoyed playing this character. And the evolution added quite a bit to it with the big, I think it was a projectile block, was it? It was like an infinite block, but it added a lot where you could push people even, right? I think that was a thing that it did. I don't remember too well. But this is overall one of my coolest and favorite characters. The laser beams, always useless. The jetpack, pretty useless. Armor skill, I think it gave you like invulnerability for a little bit. That too long of a cooldown. Weapon skill just trolled you and wasn't that effective overall. The skills sucked, but the baseline was pretty decent. All right, moving to the next one. Let's see who's next. Tau Warrior. This one started off pretty decent in OGP days, aka Guan Yu. It started off decent in OGP days, had good reach, a little bit slow. Then it got pretty good with the reform. From what I remember, it got good with the reform. I don't know if that's true or not. I know the evolution was pretty nuts, though. Like, the evolution gave you, like, the long-distance feints, a lot of range. Overall, it was a really great character on evolution. It might still be used today, as far as I know, for, like, quick air feints and all that. So, really solid character. And Clemente is the one I can remember that played this pretty often. So, Tau Warrior, pretty solid. Got annoying when he got it evolved. But solid character overall. Who's next? Wild Boxer. This is another one of my favorites. So the Boxer, overall cool character. I think it went underrated for a long time. It simply had a bad air attack, which I think gave it a lot of problems. The evolution did give it some good stuff overall. I didn't really get to play as much as I wanted to. If I was like able to log in right now, I'd probably play it a little bit more. Really great pressure rushdown character. Kind of got hurt a little bit by Viking shields back in OGP days. A lot of people use those Viking shields, but overall it was a solid character. I don't remember any like big mains of the character, but it was solid. I always liked it. Pretty good. So let's move along. Viking. This was one of the most powerful characters in OGP days. Professor is one of the ones I can remember playing this a lot. It did huge damage. It puts you in like a little mix-up with the guard breaker. The air-to-air, I think, slammed you down at one point after the reform. The helmet, it hit you once, half fainted you, and then the second hit like threw you behind them. That was pretty decent. The armor skill, from what I remember, like slammed into someone. Weapon skill was like a 2-hitter. Trinket, what was it? Oh yeah, the trinket was the Viking shield. So Viking shield's like a staple of this character, and it might still be around today as far as I know. I think it's always been one of the most useful trinkets and underrated. I think the trinket got nerfed eventually, where it took away less damage or something. But it shut down like so many characters. Just that trinket alone, like pressure characters, it would just shut it down. You could simply not block, turn your back to someone, and just walk away after it bounced them off of you. So that's the legacy of that character. The Viking shield, I think, is the biggest takeaway. But in the OGP days, it was a really solid fighting character. So it was pretty good back when actual basic skills mattered. Next one, let's see. Kage Ninja. Kage Ninja was okay in the OGP days. Not really that solid, though. Like, you didn't get much out of a lot of things. I know there's a few mains who did this character pretty well. I just forget their names, too. But yeah, he was an okay character in the old days. The little cloak scarf thing was pretty decent as a skill. The ninja armor was a fast cooldown, gave you a half feint, and let you feint with like a character like Treasure Hunter. It's not anything that had like a half feint that would lead to a full feint. What else? The helmet teleported you behind someone as a half feint counter. And the weapon skill was like a little twirl, which was always kind of useless. The character got pretty cool after its evolution. Like you could do a little more tricky combos. He could scoot around a lot faster, get more half feints. I thought he was a cool evolution. Maybe not the most effective compared to others, but I always thought it was a cool evolution. It had some cool stuff after that point. It's sad to see it go. That was a stylish character. Musketeer. This was I think someone mained this. I know someone mained this and played it religiously. I just don't remember the names. But pretty cool character. When it initially came out, it was kind of useless. The armor skill did like a cannon. That was good for like area control, I guess. The rapier was like a feint, 2-hit half feint that led to a full feint. Helmet skill was kind of like you got like a zoom out, and it added damage. Mostly useful for this character, but it was kind of weird. What was the weapon skill? Weapon skill was just like a quick shot, which was kind of cool to get a quick edge from time to time. But the evolution, I believe, added a lot more where the bullets pierced, and I think they added more ammo. Overall, I think it never really shined. It did become somewhat of a sniper eventually, but you know, it was just what it was. It was what it was. All right, TKM. This is like one of the most memeable characters for me, as I know there was like a duo that played this character that were pretty decent at it in OGP. And it did have like potentially infinite combos in OGP. I just never saw anyone like master it extensively. I saw a few people do it before. I always tried to do it myself, but I don't think anyone was able to actually accomplish it like on command. But overall, it was a cool character. But it was just more of a weaker character. Even after the evolution, it didn't seem like it got what it needed to do, got what it needed to actually be super effective, right? Pretty cool character, though. What's next? Dark Shaman. I think the evolution or whatever it was improved this, made it a lot more interesting, where you could do the charms a lot more frequently. There's one player in OGP who charmed the pants off everyone with this. I'm trying to think of who it was. I just can't remember, but I know there's been some mains in the distant past in OGP who played this. But this was mostly used as like a swap character to lure people in and then edge them. That was the go-to for this one. Apart from that, I don't think it shined much more than that. Joker, Smile Joker. This is another one Big Timer played. This was always a fun character. I never got my hands on like the evolution, except to like kind of like glance at it. I never got to see it in action. But back in the day when it was first released, it was pretty cool for the 2-hit dasher that some people could do pretty reliably to get a feint. It's pretty fast too overall with the little mini shrink armor skill. The balloons were always interesting to watch in combos. The little slam down with the weapon skill to flatten, pancake people on the ground. It was a fun character. It was an overall fun character and an interesting character as well. Yeah, R.I.P. Smile Joker for NA. Treasure Hunter, I've kind of delved into this one. This was always like one of my babies when I was in OGP. It did so much damage. I think there's like a video of YouTube somewhere of me playing someone. I think it might have been Sumerian. I don't really recall too well. But you could see like I was doing chunks of damage at high strength in OGP, where it was basically kind of unfair. And I wasn't even getting feints. Imagine if I had gotten feints with that damage. But then they nerfed it a little bit more eventually, where it toned down the damage. But overall, it was a really fun character to play. I didn't think there was one other person who mained it besides me. I just don't remember their name. But once we went over to We Made for Lost Saga, that was when I pretty much dropped the character because I didn't want to level it up again. It wasn't where it needed to be. There was funner characters to play as rather than level the same character up once again, right? But good memories of that. It got me to WCG 2010 pretty reliably. It was a challenge. It was a little bit of a challenge getting to WCG, but it got me there. It carried me. Grim Reaper. This was always one of the cool characters that came out in OGP days. I know people were all over playing this character. It had a lot of great things about it in OGP. I think there was a lot of people who mained this one. You got like a great dash attack into a launcher. You had a guard breaker. You had quick skills like the armor skill that led into his juggle. You could edge people. You could angle the edges. Back when it wasn't like common to do so. It was overall really, really nice. Really nice character. And I think it's one of the mascots, because when I went to WCG 2010, I actually got a t-shirt handed out with this character on it, like this artwork right here. And then like the evolution added some cool stuff to it where you could teleport with the passive meter, but it never really returned to big prominence compared to like the early OGP days, right? Trying to think of who were some significant mains. I know there's quite a few. There's quite a few mains. Next up, Lightning Mage. This character was always kind of useful for the weapon skill. I know it was utilized heavily in WCG 2011. The armor skill, not so great. I don't even remember. I think the helmet skill like gave you a lightning shield. Long cooldown though. The trinket was like a little slam down shock around you. But the weapon skill is what really made this thing shine. And I think it did get buffed eventually where it's a little bit more effective, and it could actually run as compared to the other mages. The other mages couldn't run. But, you know, this character was a whatever. Mostly good for, like, weapon skill, swap weapon skill character for the lightning. Very heavily utilized in WCG 2011. Who's next? Mighty Paladin, aka Templar. This character was cool. A lot of people use this after they would freeze someone with Ice Mage to edge people. And then like the evolution, I think the reform added a little bit more, but not really a whole lot. The evolution really like upped this character another ante, where you could launch easy, and then the hold D like knocks so much further and had like an AoE effect on the hold D, and still had the guard breaker effect. So it became a really, really interesting character after the evolution. I didn't see it still a lot, but overall, it was really, really solid after the evolution. Don't really remember any super significant mains of this character, though. I was always fascinated by it. Back in the OGP days, it was a little less effective because you didn't have an air attack, pretty much. You couldn't air-to-air someone. The jump attack only slammed down, pretty much. But overall, pretty cool character. Mafia. I don't think this thing ever rose to prominence, really. It was always interesting to watch because you had like such a great pressure game with the constant spray of bullets. I don't know if it ever got an evolution either, but overall it was a really stylish character. It just never really had a significant presence where it was effective. It could really lock someone down in certain situations, but there was better choices, I would say. I'm sure I lost to it a few times. But there was so many better choices where it wasn't worthy of really maining this character over other characters, especially when more mobile characters were added to the game. It just got stuck dead in the water, right? Let's see, other characters. Who's next? Wild Tiger. Wild Tiger was a pretty cool character. When it came out initially, it was okay. It was very basic, bare bones stuff. You had melee, you had some skills, you had like the hold D, which could kind of nudge someone on the ground, but overall it wasn't really where it needed to be for damage. It did used to have, like, once upon a time, infinite air jumps, I believe, where you could just constantly jump up and bounce off people's heads. Problem with NA was like you would, if someone was lagging or the game was lagging, which usually it was the game, the servers, the bounce up wouldn't work half the time. You just land on the ground after hitting someone. It was really kind of crappy. Like, this is one of the characters that wasn't well designed to integrate a wide area, like a wide continent like North America compared to Korea. Their connectivity wasn't built well, wasn't designed in mind for the North American continent with this character. And I'll mention that for others too, like Pro Wrestler, but I know some people main this. The evolution made it a really annoying character where it would charge up and roll around. But yeah, in the old days, it wasn't too great. Although I know some people did fight the good fight. Saladin. So Saladin, it's not gonna load the artwork here. It's okay. Let's go with Saladin, or Desert Blader, I think is what we called it in NA. So Desert Blader, this was an annoying character to deal with in OGP. It's one of the more stylish characters though. But overall, it was pretty cool. You could dash back and forth. The reform added like a pretty decent air attack for it. Made it a little bit more annoying to deal with. The little lamp doing the fall damage was always pretty utilized, I think, from what I remember. Apart from that, like, I know people use the weapon skill a lot too, for the little 3-hit dash and forth, I think. So that would get some easy feints, and it could be a really annoying character in a team battle too. So don't really remember many mains of the character, but I know it was utilized pretty heavily before. Who's next? Death Knight. Death Knight is one of these characters people always wanted to main, but they never really seemed very good at it because it wasn't a very good character back in the old days. Where are you? Death. There you are. And I think this character came out like around when the Frozen Throne came out for World of Warcraft, so I always thought that was kind of funny. But Death Knight, yeah, it was kind of a crappy character back in the old days, and then they reformed it and made it a lot better. And then the evolution made it pretty decent as well, even though by that time that it released on North America, it wasn't heavily utilized, but it was a pretty cool character after the evolution, but kind of crappy back in the old days. But always, people wanted to play it, it just wasn't very good, where people usually swapped off of it not too long after they had utilized it. So who's next? Seoul Bad Guy. So this is one of the premium characters. I think this was the first premium character, right? So Seoul Bad Guy from Guilty Gear. This is cool. This was like our first taste of like a major franchise entering Lost Saga, and it's actually getting bigger and bigger nowadays. But I think they removed it from the North America servers eventually, along with most of the other, if not all, of the premium characters. Simply because the licensing is probably getting a little out of control with SNK, making new games. But this character, when it first came out, wasn't too great. I don't know anyone who had a lot of success with it. From what I remember, you couldn't like angle the air attacks. I think it was just, maybe actually you could, couldn't you? But I think people had trouble comboing with it initially. Some people tried to use it, but they weren't using it very effectively. And I think it never really got where it needed to be. Oh yeah, you couldn't really combo with him very well because most people wore TKM headbands. And simply because they did that, his combos got shut down because he would do a little dash attack bounce and it wouldn't go anywhere from that point, right? Man, cool character though. Really cool character from a cool franchise. Who's next? Oh, we're back on Facebook. Let me just close that down. Who's next? Man, we're gonna I'll tell you what, on this video, I'm gonna go up to Gladiator. I'm gonna do like one more row right here. Right, Heavy Crasher. This thing was pretty interesting. When it first came out, I think it came out in OGP days, if I remember. It was a little bit slow. It had like a cool basic attack, kind of like a projectile basic attack in a way. Kept people locked down pretty well. I can't even remember if it had a dash attack back then, or if it was not an angled dash attack. But I know it eventually got reformed to be a little bit better. I know someone mained this character and did like super good combos with it, like potentially infinite combos. This character had a potential infinite. But overall, this was a pretty cool character. It hit grounded with its little hold D with the little rockets. And you could edge people pretty well at angles, and it could lock people down pretty well, and the big jump attack, air attack could, knock a lot of people down and lead into some good combos. It was underrated, I think. I think it was a pretty solid character overall. Just a little bit bulky, a little bit bad with its dash attack, or its dashing. A little bit easier to track down when it was initially released, and less effective when it was initially released. But that was a cool character. Who's next? Heavy Crasher. Oh yeah, Soldier Front. I think that's the name of this character, Soldier Front. This character was just, it was bad. it was not a good character. I mean, the melee part of it was kind of, linear, I guess is a good word to say, where it's not very good. It's very anticipatory. You could pretty much shut it down. It had some good skills. The helmet allowed you to recover, but TKM headband was generally better. I think the weapon skill did a quick feint, which was decent. I think it got reformed eventually where it did some more, but I don't think it was ever that good. It was mostly used in combo videos from what I remember. I know some people mained it, but it was never really a good character. Never really a good character at all. Who's next? Samurai. This is one of my favorite characters from Lost Saga. Kind of crummy when it first came out. You could pressure with it. It had some cool combos. The reform added quite a bit to it, and then the evolution added the great guard breaker effect, more combo capability where you could dash around while doing hold D and stuff. Overall, he was used mostly for the jump attacks to get the little knockbacks, or potentially feints if you were doing a quick jump attack after the initial landing one. The helmet was kind of useful because it gave you a little knockback, some security. Trinket. Oh, that was a trinket, right? The helmet was just a little kick, I think. No, the armor was a kick. The helmet was a little pickup. And the weapon skill was always really flashy and cool, but it became a more solid fighter after its evolution, I think. It was pretty good for pressure during its reform days, but when it first came out, I don't think it was that great. But an overall cool design of the character, though. Who's next? Running back. This was another kind of middle-of-the-road character. When it first released, it was kind of meh. People would charge up and potentially ram into someone and stun them for a while. That was pretty cool, and you could edge people with that. But it was hard to control when it initially came out. I think the reform added a little bit more control to it from what I remember. But my fondest memory was the armor skill. The armor skill doing the little touchdown kick. It was a gamble though. It's it's either going to be an onside kick where you barely move them, or it's going to be a complete field goal where someone gets shot to the moon. And I always found that fascinating. The trinket sometimes recharge your skills. As a long recharge though. You should have used Tau Scroll. Helmet was a pretty useful helmet to really reduce fall damage significantly. So if you didn't want to use Crazy Sapper armor, you'd use a helmet instead. That was pretty cool though. That was pretty cool. Don't remember any big mains of this character, but I did enjoy playing it pretty often. So I enjoyed the whole football mechanic. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun to play overall. Who else are we got on this one? Chaos Dahlia or Dahlia. I don't know how to say this still. This is one of my favorite characters as well, because you simply had a character that was ranged based where you had a reticule to aim with. That was more advanced than people give the KLS devs credit for. It was hard to play this character though. You had to really lead your shots. You had to position yourself well. You had to be careful about people approaching you. And as the game grew and grew and more mobile and zany characters came out, it just went completely kaput. Even when it got a reform, which added more to it, I don't think it got an evolution. If it did, what does it matter? You're still a manual aiming character versus these characters that zip across the entirety of the map flying around, and then they get you in one combo and there goes half your health already. You're not going to hit people airborne. That was one of the little drawbacks of the character. It didn't have a way to anti-air. You could hit people on the ground when they land from their jumps trying to evade you as well, or if they approach you directly head on. Sometimes you could hit them at the downwind of their jump, but usually they would be able to jump in on you and then take you out pretty easily. But very skillful character. I enjoyed playing it. I think Izumi mained this character and always complained about its lack of viability, but I always found it a fascinating character, especially early days when it did quite a bit of damage, and I used it for a lot of ground attacks before Hakum and other characters came out. So that was one of my fonder fonder remembered characters. Zorro, aka Fencer. I'm surprised Made or Z8 didn't get sued for this character, because it is Zorro. Zorro was a really cool character. Not always the most effective, but you could do some neat little air combos with him. The ground moves were, man, I think he did get evolved eventually or reformed. I think the evolution added quite a bit to him, but it still didn't seem like it was enough at that point. But overall, it was a really cool character. Very stylish, but again, this is like one of those characters that TKM had been ruined. You couldn't do a lot of good combos because people would just recover, typically. Did have like a really annoying downward dive kick style stab where it could get a lot of people off guard. So, pretty cool character there. Jin Kusanagi, another premium character from Blaze Blue. I thought this character was really cool, except it had problems. The little ice car thing was really cool to do. It had some cool attacks, but they were very slow attacks, like super slow. Like you could pressure a little bit, but people could get out of it. If they wore a Viking shield, you were done. Like they could just turn their back and then kill you. He's a really slow character overall. The little ice projectile was kind of cool, except when the server lags, which it always did with Made and Z8, you're not getting a good combo. Like this character was completely bugged due to lag. It could have been effective. Don't get me wrong, it could have been effective. You could have gotten the projectile and then lead into an ice car combo, a long ice car combo. But guess what? If it lagged, which it always did on our servers, the bounce was variant. So usually if you got like the projectile, it would bounce someone up like a little fraction, and then you'd be able to combo. Sometimes it would bounce too high. Sometimes it would bounce the proper way, and sometimes it would bounce too high where your combo missed. So it was broken because of lag. I'm sure it was probably fun to play on KLS, but by that time it's still a slow character. Cool and stylish character from a great franchise, but not effective on Lost Saga. Not effective on Lost Saga. Very cool character though. Literally. Necromancer. Who played this that was really annoying? Even someone towards near like a few years back, even on Z8 Games, was really good with this character. I don't remember his name though. He was really good, and he was like one of the top players too. Really talented player, and this was a talented character. You could get these bats doing big damage, little charge up bats. You had like the big skull dash attack. Solid character overall. Like, what can I say? Is really good character, and there were some good players with this character. At one point it was a little too OP where a lot of people were playing it, going crazy with the bats, but they deserved it because those bats, I always found them a little bit hard to aim, and they did a good job doing that. So kudos to those Necromancer mains. We got two more on before I call it a break because my voice is starting to go here. Xiao Long, I think that's the guy's name. Xiao Long, that's it. So Xiao Long, this was like one of the characters I really wanted to make work, but I just never could. It's another premium character from like a MMO franchise, I believe. I think it was Conquered. No, it's not Conquered. It was something else, like Red something. I think it was a OGP game that they hosted too. I don't know if that game's still even around. But this was a cool character. It was our nunchuck character. It had an infinite hold down. You just held down hold deed, and you could do like the infinite nunchucks. Except, like I told you guys, the Viking shield shut this character down, like major. Someone had a Viking shield, you might as well put this character away, because you're not going to do anything to them. You're going to get like a 1 or 2 hits that do no damage, and then you're done. Your pressure's gone, your turn's gone. But if they didn't wear a Viking shield, you had the opportunity to just hold that button down and really drive people crazy. Some people knew how to get out of it, but you could get them back into the pressure once again. And I think the reform added more pressure to that, where it was a little easier. And you could always let go of that hold D if you anticipate someone trying to escape it at the right point. But yeah, it was a cool character. It's just ruined completely by that one item in the game. And the coin move was always kind of funny, like, perhaps you dropped a coin. Good memories. And who's our last one for this video? Where am I? I've lost my place now. I see some exciting characters to talk about. Gladiator. So this is the character that, you know, it carried me. I'm not gonna lie. When it was initially released, this carried me to WCG 2011. It was an OP character. Had a great guard breaker dash attack where you could launch someone after it and then potentially edge them pretty easily. Had a great leaping stab, which led to like a little stun feint. The weapon skill was super good as well. It was a half feint counter where you got a feint off of it if it landed. The armor skill was okay, but you could potentially edge with it at range. Helmet skill was like a little kick that was really hard to aim or time to actually get fall damage on. I found it was hard anyway. Trinket was meh, where you got like a little mace thing, ball and chain. That didn't do a whole lot, I felt, but mostly it was good because it had the infinite block. You could roll away. It had some great combos. It had great versatility overall, and I think me and one other person on my WCG 2011 team, I think Blade played it a little bit as well, and that's what carried us WCG 2011. Great memories of this character, and I think it went by the wayside, but the evolution added a lot to it as well, where it became a lot better. I always felt bad for playing it though. Like little side note about me, like I felt bad for playing an OP character, but I really wanted to go to WCG. I really wanted to win that tournament, so I kind of like swallowed my pride and like, I'll play the OP character because we're in this climate where I want to win, I want to do well, I want to be successful, and I want to get to that WCG tournament. I want to get to South Korea, and this character is responsible for carrying me to 2011 WCG, right? Really good character. So next video, or maybe videos, I'm going to go through like down this list and like discuss all these characters one by one, and that'll be like my memory. I can't do a Lost Saga video because clearly my X trap is broken, but that'll be my little send-off, memorizing little memories of Lost Saga NA, and maybe we'll do like a little story time video too. Or you guys, I tell you what, if you guys want to post in the comments like a little Q&A, like what questions you have for me about Lost Saga, or post them on my Facebook, I'll try to include them in a future video as well, if you guys care enough. If you don't, just, you know, have a good time, right? So I'll see you guys next video, part 2 of kind of like going down the list of characters for Lost Saga, just to have some good memories of it, right? So see you guys next video.